Welcome to Alley 55 Customs. Today we are working on a 2008 Land Rover LR2. The customer's complaint is that the gear shift lever it keeps on popping out of gear. So like when you put it in a park, it'll just keep jumping out. So basically it just keeps jumping out. So no matter what you do, it just keeps popping out. And so today we're going to show you how to fix that. Okay, so I've seen this before and actually have dealt with this. And so what I'm going to do is, it's going to be really hard to show you until I get all this out. So I'm going to remove the engine cowling. I'm going to remove the air box. And then I'm also going to remove the battery and the battery box itself. But anyways, I'm going to show you. I already purchased the parts from Land Rover, and this is the shift cable. So this is an OEM product from Land Rover, and this is one of the problems. So and also I also got. This is your control arm that actually shifts your transmission. So when you pull back from park to reverse, you know, it'll sit there and it pops it into gear and out when you go to drive. So it's a selector switch. And this actually was about 25 bucks. And the cable itself from the manufacturer, Land Rover, 75 bucks. So I'm going to go ahead and replace both of them. And the reason why, I've seen many times where this actually wears the shaft that comes out that it bolts onto, actually kind of gets hogged out. So then what this does is it starts slipping on the actual cog that's popped out, you know, the shaft that selects the transmission, you know, to go into park and, you know, neutral and reverse and stuff. So I've seen this actually get hogged out. So then it just kind of slides. It's really, really, really loose. So we'll see if that's what it is. So I just bought them both because I've seen this before. And also I've seen it before where the actual, on the cable, where it goes into it, where it pops down in. This is your selector switch. So then when it pops down in here and locks in place, I've seen this also, you know, become extremely worn down, and it just lays on top and just kind of, it's sloppy. And that's the other reason why it's not shifting correctly. So it's, I just went ahead and I'm just going to replace them both because the customer wanted me to do that. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the engine cowling. On a Land Rover, these are really nice and easy. They just pop straight up, and you just pull it right off and set it off to the side. So then what we're going to do is on your air box, this is your mass airflow sensor. And so what we're going to do is we're going to, on the back side, there's a little tab. You're going to push it in, and then you wiggle it and pop that thing off. And if it hasn't been off in years, it's probably going to be stuck on there. So I'm gonna I'll have to get that in a second. But then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take and pinch this together with a pair of pliers, pull it off, and this air box will lift straight up and out. That's how easy it is to remove this. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll get right back to you. Okay, now that you've taken out the battery, there's 3 bolts holding this in. Well, at least in this one, there's 3 bolts. I see another one back here, so it's 4 bolts. But these are the bolts you're going to be taking out. That's 8 millimeter. And once you get those out, the whole battery box will just, you know, slide right out. So there you go. Pull that dude out. Keep the bolts with it. That way you know those are the bolts that go to it. And then you can see a little bit better. So if you lay this in here, you'll see that, there you go, that's your, there it is right there. So that part is that part right there. And so what we're gonna do is go ahead and we're gonna take and replace this whole entire cable right here. And then we're gonna get underneath the air conditioning compressor. And then we're gonna replace that shift linkage also. So let me go ahead and get underway on the AC compressor. All right, so now what we're gonna do is you have to remove the serpentine belt off of your AC compressor because it will not come off without this belt off of here. And so the easiest way that I found is, so here's your belt tensioner right down below. Let's see if we can even see it. It's right down below the brake vacuum pump. And so if you can get a crescent wrench on there, it's the easiest way to do that. And so if you open the jaws up and stick it on there, it's kind of hard to see, but you can actually pull it down and then take the serpentine belt off of the AC compressor. All right, now that the belt is off the compressor, there's going to be 3 bolts that you're going to need to take off. So one is kind of hidden back here, but you're going to have to take that one off right there. And then there's one lower one that's right here, and there's one right here. So those 3 are going to have to be removed. Okay, so now that we've removed the bolts, so you can actually just take and move the AC compressor out of the way. You know, just get it out of the way here, or you can pull it up and you have to disconnect the wiring, which is right here. So I'm going to pull that up, and I'm going to go ahead and pull off the wiring right now. And all it is just a press-in tab that you're going to have to, you just push in on, and then it will release. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. So anyways, but it's this tab here, and then the one over here. I'll be right back. Now these are the two connectors that you're going to remove off of the air compressor pump, which is this one and this one. And then you can actually just swing the whole thing right out of the way and just gently set it on top of the motor so it doesn't damage anything. You don't want to set it on any wiring. But anyways, now we're at the next point. Okay, so now that you've moved the AC compressor out of the way, if you look down, straight down, there's a bolt. You can see it right straight down, about where my flashlight's shining. That is the shifting arm, and there's a bolt right on top of there, a nut actually, right on top there that you can just unscrew. And you do not need to take off the actual AC compressor bracket, but you know, you just get down there with a socket, unscrew that, pop that out, and now you have full access to pull your cable out. All right, so the next thing you want to do is you want to remove the nut that's on here. That's a 13 millimeter. Go ahead and take that off. You know, you might want to have a pickup tool of some sorts, magnet or mechanical fingers, because they do drop. You know, the nut will drop. So anyways, but let's do that and then take that off. Now, putting it back on, you can't really screw it up because it has if you look on the back side here, it's oblong, and so it slides over, and so you're not gonna get this off, you know, by any. It's you just slide it over, put it in place, and then take your nut and screw your nut down on top of here and get that pretty tight, because you don't want that to come undone. I just found also when I started to take the nut off here that it was sitting there just finger tight, and I didn't even need to use a socket. So I'm going to go ahead and replace this piece, and maybe I won't have to change out the cable after all. So let's get underway with removing the arm. All right, so the arm just popped right off. You just pulled it straight up. Next thing I'm going to do too, just so you can get your hands down in there, I'm actually just going to pull up, because what you're going to do is you have to pull up on this right here. Let me show you on other one. So these here have a, see that little groove right here? That's where that sits down, it locks in place. So a lot of times you have to get behind it with a screwdriver, you know, up underneath, and then pry it up. But then I can access it a little bit easier. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then, like I said, I'm just gonna pry in from the back side and then just pop it up. Okay, so another thing too that you wanna do is you want to match everything up, make sure it's exactly correct. You don't want any alterations on it. You know, you don't want it longer or shorter. You want it the same size. You got to have the right, you know, mounting bracket, mounting spot. That is the correct one. So I'm going to go ahead and slide that down in and bolt it down, and then I'll put the cable on. Okay, so now we went ahead and pried this up. Once again, you can use like a screwdriver, get behind it and pry upward on it. It's a little bit tight of a fit to get in there, but it is possible. You can do it. The other option is you can take like a pair of like Knipex pliers like this. They're slip joint pliers, and you know, you can take and grab a hold right here on this piece and then lift up with your other hand on the cable itself, and just start to kind of wiggle it back and forth while you're pulling on it with the slip joint pliers. Now that we have it off, let's take a look at this. So here's the top of it, and that actually looks good. That's where the nut sucks down onto it. It's the back side that we're worried about. And see if you, yeah, see that? So that actually is, it's hogged out. So over the years, that nut was probably loose for quite a while. So if you look at it on each side, it's hogged out. So it's been moving, whoops. It's been moving a little bit here and here. So you have wiggle room, and you don't want that. You want a positive fit. So we're gonna go ahead and change out this arm right here, put it back on. We're gonna put this back together and see if that fixes the shifting problem. If it does, I just saved the customer a bunch of money because it is not an easy job to replace this cable. So let me go ahead and pop that off. So what you're gonna do is just gonna get behind here with a screwdriver, and then it just pops up, and then you can just pop that right out. It's super easy. Okay, so here's the, this is the number I use for that part. So for this part, that's the number right there. So if you need to change that out, just call Land Rover dealer. Again, it's 24 bucks, not too awful bad. And then just give them that part number and they'll get it on order. Okay, so I'm gonna go back on what I said earlier. I was going to install this piece first and then put the bolt on it and all that stuff, and then install the cable second. But actually, it seems to be easier if I just take and go ahead and pop this in, lock it in place, just like that right there. And then you can also see if there's a lot of movement in there too. And it doesn't seem, no, it really doesn't seem like there is. So I think that it was the actual, you know, this part here was getting hogged out, so it was moving too much. So I'm gonna go ahead and just feed this back through, and then just set the top here down onto the shaft coming out of your transmission, and go ahead and take that and run the bolt down, and we'll go in and see how the shifting works. All right, so I want to show you what I did to fix that problem. So it was the, you know, this actually was hogged out. So it wasn't locking properly around the shaft that's coming out of the transmission. So what I did was, this was another thing too. When you slide this down over top of that shaft, the shifting shaft, it was still wiggling quite a bit. Because the top of the shaft over the years had worn down on it. And so anyways, what I ended up doing to make a perfect fit was I replaced the arm, the shifting arm itself, and below the arm is this washer. And this washer is quite a thick washer. So what I ended up doing is I took this washer out because that actually raised it up on that shifting shaft. So it raised it way up. So that's how it looks right there. And so it sat way up at the almost to the very top, you know. So when you put the nut down on there, it didn't have a whole lot to bite into. It actually, you know, you could screw it down and get a good bite, but it's the threads weren't all the way locked down. It wasn't all the way seated. So what I did to fix the problem, I just took this out completely, set out. I got another washer that was way thinner, and I put that down first, and then the second, and it dropped it down quite a bit because, I mean, like, again, look how thick that is, you know. But it actually slid down further, so it actually would bite into the actual shaft that's sticking up. So it made a more positive lock. You could actually feel it sliding in, locking in, and it's solid now. The thing doesn't move. You know, so all I did, like I said, reduced the size of this. This is also crowned up here, so I just reduced the size of the washer, the thickness, and I just went down to that size right there, and slid it down, got it locked into place. Used the nut with your thread lock, and then screwed it down and just got it nice and tight. So there's the fix. Works excellent. You can't get any better than that. So, I mean, the only other alternative, if you wanted to fix that shaft coming out of there and to use this washer or spacer, then you would actually have to tear the transmission out and then replace that whole shaft coming up there, the shaft assembly. That's a big job, and this is a great fix. Worked perfect. So if you have the same issue, try it. It worked excellent for me, and you know, I'm sure the customer doesn't want to go through and pay a ton of money for, you know, tearing the transmission out and replacing that shifting shaft. So hope this helps out, and let's get underway. Okay, so now we just got done installing the shifting arm right here, and then I put the nut back on and basically got it down you know, good and tight. I don't want it to lift up again, unscrew, because that was the whole problem. It seems fixed. So anyways, the other thing that I used was a thread locker. This is a high strength thread locker. It's made by Permatex. You can get it at any auto parts store. Just a little dab, stick on there, and then it'll lock your threads in place, and so you won't have that nut backing out again, because it's not, you know, an easy job to tear all this down to get to that spot and keep refixing it, you know, once a year. So highly recommend to do that. Any moving parts that you're going to be assembling, it's not a bad idea to put a thread locker on it. But anyways, and the other thing too, you want to make sure that you lock in your, right down here, you know, you want to make sure that you get this locked in place, right down here. So this whole thing has to be locked in right here. So what you're going to do is take it, push it down until you hear it click. The next thing that you'll want to do is just to see that it's fixed. It's a pain in the butt if you have to tear everything all back down because you didn't get it fixed. What I would do is I just set the battery in there and, you know, just hook up your negative positive again. And then what we're going to do is go inside the vehicle, and I'll show you how to shift it without starting the vehicle. All right, so now that we're inside the vehicle, here's what you're going to do. Don't step on the brake, because, you know, when you put your key in the ignition, you have to put your foot on the brake to get to start. Keep your foot off the brake, and then what we'll do is we'll put the key fob. We'll put the key fob in, okay? And then we're going to press and hold the start button, but nothing will happen. All it's going to do is turn on. So let's push it and hold it. There you go. So everything powered up, and now it's in the on position. So now if you step on the brake, you can grab a hold and you can select what you want here. So let's see if it's working. Oh yeah, that feels really good. So it's a positive lock. So that's what you want. So it's fixed. See, it's not popping out. And we'll double check after we get everything put back together to make sure that it is fixed 100%. And see that? That's nice. I like that. So that right there just fixed the issue. So go ahead and do the same thing. Get your foot off the brake, hit the button, and then remove your key. And now let's go ahead and put everything back together. All right. So now that we fixed the problem, the issue was addressed, and it works really good now. So what we're going to do, I want to just point a couple things out to you. On the back side of the motor, we have a serpentine belt on the back side of the motor. Runs your AC compressor. You know, here's your idler pulley right here. Is your idler pulley. Here's your belt tensioner right here. This is your, so if you have to ever replace those, that's where it's located. Here's your power steering pump right here. And so if that ever goes bad, you're gonna have to disconnect this and change that out here. This is your brake vacuum pump. I just replaced this for the guy last week. It was dripping, it was leaking oil. The seal was bad on it. And so I went in and just got a new one for him, and we just replaced that. Now, the reason it was leaking is one of the bolts had backed out and fell out, and then it was missing. And so it wasn't seated all the way down to the engine, so it just sat there and dripped. Now, if you, you know, and also to another thing, water pump, if you have an issue with your water pump, it's actually underneath right here. You have to take your whole power steering pump off, and it sits right below this, right underneath it. So that's where you're going to have to replace your water pump. Okay, before you get your air conditioning compressor reinstalled, don't forget to hook up the two wires going to it, the connectors that are going to it. If you don't hook those up, you will not have AC in your car. Also, another thing too that you want to do, make sure that your serpentine belt is in line all the way around. Double check it, because if it is off, you know, your pulley, you know, make sure it's on your idler pulley, you have it routed the right way. If you don't, and say that it's off the side of your pulley, it'll shred your belt. So right when you start it, it's going to shred it, and then you're back in here taking everything else back off just to replace your serpentine belt. So don't forget that. I mean, look down and make sure everything is in line. All right, so we just got done installing the battery box, and then I put in the battery and the terminals, the battery terminals, both, you know, negative and positive, and so got that all tightened down. Now here's another thing to address. Also, I'll tell the customer about this, but this has been years of being bent. That's going to cause problems in the near future, so you shouldn't have a battery cable that's being bent like that. So let's get to put in your air box, and we'll put back on your engine cover, and then you're good to go. We'll start it up, and we'll take it for a little spin. Okay, so now we just put in our air box, hooked up our air intake, and the other thing too, don't forget to, this is your mass airflow sensor. Don't forget to hook that wire back up to it, the connector, because then your engine's gonna really run bad. So go ahead and get that installed, and you push down, make sure it's locked in place, and then you have that little sleeve down here that it runs over the cold air intake right here. So there's a sleeve that slides down over the top, And then you just take and put your engine cover back on, pop it down, push on it, and lock it back into place. So now let's see how it drives. All right, so another thing too, if you did have to replace that cable, I'm actually going to send that back to the Land Rover dealer. And if you have to install that cable, that's going to be your time-consuming part. You're going to have to do everything we just did, but then you also have to come in here and you're going to have to take out the center console, which I have another video that actually shows how to do that. You know, pop off the bezel, the center console. You have to lift out your, there's 4 bolts to take out the tower, the shifting tower. And then you actually have to, down below, there's side pieces that have to come off right here. And this whole trim work is going to have to be pulled out, because underneath there's a black, it's your air ducts for your vents. And it's like the diverter. So it's a plastic piece. The way they have the cable routed, it routes underneath that, and it gives you no room to move at all. So that has to be unbolted and lifted up so you can physically get that cable out. So a little more involved. I thought I was going to have to do that. I would have made a great video for you, but evidently I lucked out, and I don't have to do that. So let's see how it works. All right, let's go ahead and see if this all works, and let's put our key in. Okay, perfect. Now let's see if the gear shift lever actually is fixed. So let's put it in reverse. That looks good. It's not popping out. There's drive. That's locking in good. Okay, and that problem seems to be fixed. Oh yeah, look at that. That's nice. So it's not popping out anymore. And let me just back out of here and see, make sure that everything is functioning correctly. Yeah. Let's go forward. Yeah, man, that's a positive lock right there. So there we go. So that is definitely a fix. Please hit the like, subscribe to my channel. I've got a ton of videos coming up, more in-depth ones. We're also going to do a ton of giveaways. So please hit that subscribe button. Send us a comment. If there's a vehicle you want to see worked on, or if you have an issue with your car, let me know. I'll try to accommodate it. So have a good day.